Okay, good morning or good afternoon, everyone. I just want to point out a couple things before I go on to today's lesson. If you haven't already seen this file, I labeled it all your resources, and it is clickable. So if you were to literally click for Zoom meeting, it will open up that Zoom link and it'll take you straight to our meeting, which is tomorrow at 1 p.m. Every Thursday at 1 p.m. So add it to your calendar. It's the easiest thing you could do. And then same thing with the Instagram. That'll take you to your Instagram or our Instagram page. The texting one, that one's not clickable, but it is clickable when I type it in under your announcements or your assignments. If you're looking at it from your phone, click to email, that one is clickable as well. And the YouTube video is clickable as well. And the only reason why the Snapchat is on there is because before we left school, some students already had access to my personal Snapchat. So if you have that, then you can still use it. I have still been helping students through there, but I'm not sharing it out to everyone because I do not need 200 students on there. But that is a resource for those who already have it. All right, so now to move on. I know some students were having issues with this type of shape. So kind of to just explain the formula that we were using yesterday. We were using the formula that said our volume is equal to the area of the base times height. That capital B is area of the base. And then the height is the height of the prism. Okay, so when we're talking about the base, I know that kind of sounds like the bottom every time, but if you look at this picture, the triangle, which is typically what we call the base in these cases, is actually at the front. So that's why I kind of kept writing in your instructions that it's the same shape front and back, or it's the same shape top and bottom, depending on how it's pictured. In this case, we see that the bottom is a rectangle. There is no top because it goes up in a peak. So we're talking about the base being the shape that's doubled, and it's exactly the same on both sides. So that'll be this triangle at the front is the same exact size as this triangle in the back. And if you had like a triangular pyramid in front of you, you would be able to see that they were exactly the same size. So that's what we're talking about, the base. So when we're talking about finding the area of the base, we're talking about finding the area of that triangle. So area of a triangle we should all know this equation, but if you don't, I try to provide it in your instructions. So that area is half the base times height, or you could think of that as base times height divided by 2. Okay, so either one of those works. So base is always the bottom, so the bottom of that triangle is 6. So it's half times 6 times the height. Now the height is always that perpendicular measurement. And by perpendicular, I mean this line that creates a right angle. Think about how you measure yourself. You don't measure yourself starting at an angle. You want to make sure that the measurement starts straight from the floor and goes straight up to measure your height. So that's the same idea when we're measuring height of any shape. So the height of the triangle, it tells me, is 4 feet. And then, so again, that's the same as saying that the base times the height divided by 2. It's the same thing. I have half, and then 6 times 4 is 24. So half of 24 is 12. Or I could have done that the exact same way and done the top first. 6 times 4 is 24. Divided by 2 is 12. And so now that I have that, I can go back to my volume. And now I know that the area of my base, which was my triangle, was 12. And now I need the height of the actual prism. So the height is like how long from one end to the other end. So since we said our base was our triangle, we want to know how far this triangle is from the opposite side of it, which it tells me right there is 9. So that's 12 times 9. So then your answer should have been 108. I should have known that. I don't know why I had to look that one up. 108. And then again, it's always feet cubed when we're talking about volume. Alright, and then the next one that I'm going to do, and I'm going to do this one a lot quicker because it didn't seem like you guys had that many issues with it. So again, our equation that we're using is volume is equal to the area of the base times the height. Area of the base, again, it could be the top and bottom or front and back. Since we did the front and back for the triangle, I'm just going to do that for this one. So we're looking at this front rectangle, and then we know from just knowing what a rectangular prism looks like that on the opposite side of that is that exact same shape. So it's area of a rectangle, which is my length times my width. Length is 5, and then my width is going to be 3. So 5 times 3. And then that's times the height of the prism. So again, it's how far one of the bases is from the other base. So that's from the front to the back. That height was 6. So we have 5 times 3 and then times 6. 5 times 3 is 15. Times 6 is 90. So that one should be 90 centimeters cubed. And then remember I told you, like, when you're typing it out, you could do 90 centimeters and then the little caret and then the 3, because the caret 3 means that you're trying to say a power. Okay, and then what today's lesson is, and I was kind of hoping that those first 2 examples would make this one a lot easier to go over, is a cylinder. So a cylinder, it's not considered a prism. However, it does have properties like a prism. So we're actually able to continue using our formula for volume, which is area of the base times the height, because if you notice, in a cylinder, there's a circular top section and a circular bottom section, and for cylinders, it's always the same top and bottom, so same exact measurements. So I can treat it the same, where like I'm now treating my base is my circular section down here, and I know it kind of looks like an oval in the drawing, but it's supposed to be a circle. And so that circle has the area of, or not the area, but the radius of 7 meters. And in case you don't remember, radius is always the measurement from the center to any point on the circle. So it's always that halfway line that's created there. Okay, and then so just like with the other one, we had to know the area of the base. The area of a circle is given by pi r squared. So for this one, you do need to know the radius. So just so we can refresh on it, the diameter is the length from one end all the way to the other end through the center. So it's actually just double the radius. So for this one, the diameter would be 14 meters. So if you're given the diameter but you need the radius, you just go ahead and take half of that to make it 7 meters. Alright, and then, so once we have that, we can find the area of this circle or the base by doing pi r squared, which is going to be pi. Remember to substitute your r right for that exact value, and everything else stays the same. So it's still 7, and it's still being multiplied by pi, and it still has to be squared. And then follow your order of operations. You do your exponents first. 7 squared is 49, and then you get 49 times pi. Okay, so now taking that, since that's the area of my base, now I know that it's going to be 49 pi, and then times again the height of my shape. So the height here, again, it's from one circle, bottom circle, to the top circle, which is 10 meters. So our volume is going to be 49 pi times 10. And then that becomes 490 pi. Now, one thing I want to stress is sometimes we're going to ask you to answer with exact answers. Exact answers means that the pi is still there, or like, for example, with Pythagorean theorem, it means that the square root is still there. So that's an exact answer, but then we also have estimated answer, which for a lot of like story problems we'll need to know like an estimated amount, because 490 pi meters cubed, and actually I should add that because that should say meters cubed, isn't really a measurement that I can go and like measure at all. So we do need those estimations. Now remember that pi is 3.14, estimated to 3.14. And so that'll give me an estimated volume of 1,538.6 meters cubed. So just keep that in mind. Sometimes we'll want the answer with pi, and sometimes we'll want the answer after you multiply by the approximation of pi. And you'll know, usually the ones with pi, they will be multiple choice answers, so you'll kind of already have it written. Since it's hard to do the pi symbol, if it's a short answer, I'm probably not asking for the pi symbol, but I'll try to keep those directions as clear as possible on your future Google form assignments. And so you're going to have 2 problems to do after this video. You're going to have 2 cylinders to find the volume of. So remember, first you do the area of the circle and then times the height. So then, just to make that 100% clear, our volume of a cylinder equation will be pi r squared, because that's how we find the area of a circle, times our height of the cylinder. So there we have our area of the base times the height. Okay, you will be provided this equation in the green box for most of your assignments, but you might have to go back and look for it sometimes if I don't put it on the assignment. Remember, R is your radius, H is the height of the cylinder, so from one circle to the other circle. Any questions, comments, concerns, please use that resource page to see all the ways you can communicate with us.